everyone. Thank you so much for coming out today to The Edge. This is our first Fashion Tech Expo, and I'm sure a lot of you have been here for the past panels throughout the day, so you're going to hear my little spiel again. But we're just so excited to have so many founders and startups in the room with us today, you know, working on anywhere in this fashion tech ecosystem, from circular fashion, blockchain, AI and styling, and it's just really great to see, you know, so many different types of people. I think everyone in here has very different backgrounds, either from tech or finance, maybe fashion design, and how we're all coming together to form this community. And on that note, I wanted to introduce myself. I'm Manya, the co-founder of Threads of Tech. Me and Nama, my co-founders, started Threads of Tech after this kind of internal struggle of balancing our careers in fashion with our fashion design projects. And I think it's hard to find spaces which are oriented for the intersection of both fashion and tech. I think a lot of us may have skill sets in marketing, finance, sales, software engineering, the list goes on, but not a traditional background in fashion, but we want to be able to apply these skills to solve problems in fashion, and that's really what Threads of Tech is about. We host events to find your co-founder, build your career in fashion tech and just find out more about what is actually happening in this space from the people who are working on it, because I think sometimes it does feel like a little bit of a buzzword, like fashion tech, like what actually is that? And with that, this is our fourth panel of the day, and it is on AI and style. And I am going to pass it to Lindsay to introduce herself and her company.
Hello everyone, I'm Lindsay Perper, the founder of Rodeo, and we're building a personalized shopping experience leveraging social content from any platform. So really curating that experience and leveraging our creative community to help us do that.
Awesome. Hi, I'm Virgina Dittmar. I am the founder of Fital. We are an AI-powered sizing assistant that is helping customers as they shop online to find the right size. We're based in San Francisco, but we're so happy to be here in New York today, in the fashion capital, and excited to be on this panel with all of these lovely women.
Hi, my name is Selen. I'm the founder and CEO of Jori. My background is not fashion. I don't know if you can tell it by my bland outfit, but my expertise is AI and machine learning. I've worked in Silicon Valley for many years building machine learning algorithms for the product that you use every day and adaptation in the field. Jori is an AI platform for fashion circularity. We help resellers better monetize and process their inventory through AI. We help businesses and individual sellers, so whether you list one item or thousands of items, we want to make that process a lot more efficient and easier for you.
Awesome. Hi everyone, my name is Kotryna. I am the co-founder of Arête, and what we're doing is basically saying that search-based shopping is no longer the future. So instead of scrolling for 5 hours on a Revolve or a Farfetch, we are generating full outfit recommendations for you based on your style preferences, which get more refined as you engage on the app, your occasion, so where are you going, your location, so what's the weather, and your vibe. So we're actually capturing sentiment in clothing. And all the recommendations are a combination of net new items from emerging designers that you can purchase, and you can also include items from your own closet if you want help kind of completing the look. So that's high level what we're building.
Very cool. Can we have a big round of applause for our panelists today? And I think we have a very diverse set of panelists and the companies that they're working on, because like how AI can be applied to fashion is so vast. We have more of a social platform, sizing recommendations, closet uploading and inventory management, and finally styling recommendations. And I think it's really exciting to see how we can use these new technologies in so many different ways. And with that, we can jump into our first question for the day. So me and my co-founders have been planning this event for about a month and a half, and I obviously waited for like a week before the event to figure out what I was wearing, and I found myself just scrolling for hours on whatever, because I was like, I don't know, it's just so hard. Like, I feel like it's the last thing you think about when you're hosting an event. And on that note, like, there has to be a better way to shop, and how can we possibly eliminate search-based shopping? So Lindsay, would love to hear more about how Rodeo is kind of streamlining this discovery process to checking out with Rodeo.
Hello? Hi. So, Rodeo actually came about from a personal kind of the pain points I faced with a small TikTok following, but seeing how much engagement that drives to brands and purchase decisions and brand awareness. And to your point, what was lost, a big piece was lost in the shopping experience as things moved over to e-commerce from shopping malls, and that's this discovery and fueling this like contextualized experience where you used to go to the mall and see all the cool brands and trends and cool people, and you were inspired by all of that to kind of fuel your entire consumer journey. So Rodeo, we're leveraging the vast amounts of user-generated content, and we were focused initially on the creator of that content. So how can we become this destination that the user turns to when they're ready to shop for the event here today. And so what we did in order to kind of create this destination is we reorganized a lot of things that were kind of already out there. We hooked into the APIs so you don't have to double publish or triple, quadruple publish across platforms for your following, whether it's on Twitter or TikTok, to be able to kind of explore your content. We're using a few layers of AI to first do like product search identification so that the creator of this content doesn't have to become like a full-time administrator of their website. And then for the user, ultimately it will be this hyper-personalized experience where you can type in, you know, I'm moderating an event in New York City and it's going to be 30 degrees outside, and from your interactions with the site, it will be able to kind of give you recommendations around brands, price sensitivity. Let's say you're looking for the sustainable option. It will understand and learn throughout the process the same way that you had mentioned, and really be able to fuel all of that discovery. And the last thing I'll say, just because Alana's listening and we always talk about this, is like, I think we see Rodeo as like Mall 3.0, only when you walk in, instead of having to walk around the entire mall, everything's right there, like personally delivered, so you don't have to page through a million white pages.
I should have got on Rodeo a week ago.
Yeah,
It would save me a lot of time. Moving on with like the topic of limiting search-based discovery, Kotryna would love to hear more about how Arête, takes into account user preferences over time and adapts on data, and maybe what data sources are inputted.
There we go. So for us, we are very focused on fashion right now. And when you go into Arête, you give us some of those initial data points that help drive some of those initial recommendations that you receive. But you'll see we have a social side on the app, and that's really integral because that is actually what fuels a lot of the recommendations that you receive. So we are training our AI to understand occasion, style, and sentiment in clothing, which means that we have our own taxonomy, and we have a very specific way of how we're actually training the model and tagging data. So as you engage in the app, you'll see you can swipe right and left on different photos that have very specific tags associated with them. We're using computer vision specifically. For anyone who's like not in this space, computer vision, we're basically training our AI to see clothing, and it's text to image. So we're seeing the clothing and we're saying, this is what, let's say your name's Miranda, and you post a photo, you're wearing a suit, and the tags that you put there are occasion, office, confident, powerful. We're basically able to see that photo and say, okay, this is what Miranda is wearing when she's going to the office and feeling powerful. As a user, if you swipe right on that photo, you are telling your personal AI model that you agree with the way that photo is tagged and categorized. You can also save photos. So let's say you agreed with that one, then you see another one that's tagged office, powerful, and you're like, no, that's not for me. I actually think I would wear that to the bar when I'm feeling sexy. Okay, dramatic change, but whatever, it's you, right? So you can actually save that photo based on those tags, and you're telling your AI model that, hey, this is what I'm wearing when I'm going to the bar and feeling sexy, which is why when you go into the styler and receive recommendations of full outfits, it is going to be tailored to you, and your recommendations are going to be different. So for example, maybe you're someone in the beginning, you signed on, you created a profile, and you told us some of your preferences, but over time, not everyone knows what avant-garde is, right? Like, everyone in this room is pretty fashion forward, like you guys are all really stylish, but most people are, they're fashion curious. They don't know their style really clearly to be able to say, I'm avant-garde, I'm edgy, I'm broody, right? What does that mean? So as you engage on that social side, as you go through these images, you're actually automatically curating your style without even necessarily knowing what those words are. So that's how we're starting to really fine-tune your recommendations from the beginning. And obviously, like as we expand, we're expanding the filters and everything, but we have our own taxonomy right now that we're using to really nail in on those recommendations that we can generate for each individual and focusing in on fashion from the beginning.
Sounds like Arête is almost like Tinder for clothing. Swapping right, like many apps I need to download like right after this. So I guess like this is more so on how do you find the right fit and style for your clothing. But once you order it and it delivers to you and you try it on and it doesn't fit, what then? And Fital is working on a solution for that. So Virginia, would love to hear more about how you take into account different body shapes, garment types, and just different sizing charts across brands.
Yeah, absolutely. So we are sitting on a panel about AI and style, but what's really important when you're thinking about your style is it has to fit right. Like you could find the most amazing pair of pants or the amazing top, but if it doesn't fit your body the right way, it's not going to actually look good on you, and you'll likely end up returning it. And so that is like what we set out to accomplish, was to answer that question, what size am I when I'm shopping online? And so there's so many different factors to take into account when you are trying to find the right size and why it's such a difficult problem. It's a multifaceted approach that we have, so we're using both qualitative and quantitative data to figure out the sizing. First and foremost, like you were mentioning, the size charts are really important. Wow, I didn't realize it'd shake when I was up here. But so basically you are trying to figure out what size chart to match with an item. So you guys have probably all shopped at different brands, and you might be a size in one brand and a different size in another, which is so frustrating. But what's happening is that individual brands have their own size charts. And so we're tailoring that first and foremost to the specific brand, understanding their size charts. What you might not know is within brands there are different size charts for different items. So jeans will have a different size chart than their slacks. So we're also making sure that we're tailoring it to that. In addition, we're using a lot of models based off of users like you and just people in North America with different body types. Because like we are all sitting in this room, we all have unique and different body type. So we need to keep that into account as well. So we're using a lot of demographic data as well as weight distribution data to help us figure out the right size. So at the end of the day, as you're shopping, no matter what site you're on, we'll be able to tell you the right size specific to your body type.
Got it. And is there any form of, I guess, user feedback that if someone uses Fital to get a garment and still feels it may have not fit in the same size chart recommendations of the brand?
Absolutely. That's another integration that we're working with brands on, is return data, is to understand, hey, did that size recommendation work for you? Because it might fit you, but you might have a different size preference that we're not taking into account, such as like I like tops to fit a little looser, I like my jeans to fit a little tighter. So we're also trying to take that into account to really nail what a customer needs.
Someone in the last panel mentioned that clothes are mass-produced, but bodies aren't, and I think that a lot of overlap in what Fital is also working on.
I love that saying. That's so right.
I think it was Danielle Vermeer from Teleport who said it, but yeah. I guess moving on, so my roommate is currently unemployed, and she is selling a lot of her clothes on Depop, and I did my groceries, did my errands, came back, and she was still taking pictures and uploading them. And Jori is working on a service to use AI to automate this process of closet uploading. So Selen, would love to hear how Jori ensures both the reliability and accuracy when you're putting your closet up, and specifically in both quality and price estimations.
Sure. So when it comes to condition, there's no standard. So you may think that your item that you're selling is in a great condition, but someone else may disagree. And beauty is in the eyes of the beholder. So when there's no standard, it's going to be hard to settle on a price and find the right price for your item. And Jori, what we do in Jori is that we utilize computer vision technologies and large language models to be able to make that listing process a lot easier, and we want to also reduce the ambiguity when it comes to selling your items online. So like you mentioned, like there's a lot of steps that when it comes to like listing an item online. Like you have to take pictures, you have to write a title, you have to write a description, you have to estimate the right price so that your item can sell. But all that stuff is very manual, and sometimes take the right pictures, or your pictures may not look pretty, or the description that you wrote may not really accurately define the item. In that case, your item may stay on the marketplace for a very long time, it doesn't sell, and all that work may go wasted. So we want to streamline that entire process, and we want to ensure that you can rely on the platform in terms of the guidance that it provides you, and also the estimation of the price. So in order to make sure that the platform stays accurate, we also take into account user feedback. So let's say the algorithm predicts that the item is in a great condition, but we know that there's like some pilling, or the algorithm may suggest that it's not in a good condition, but you think that it's otherwise. Then we actually take into account what the user may say, and we use that information to be able to train the algorithm for the next iteration. And same goes with pricing. Let's say the algorithm suggests the price of like, let's say $20, but you think it could sell for $40, we take into account so that we make sure that your items actually get sold for as much as possible. And there are lots of factors that get into account for pricing. For instance, if you sell a winter jacket in the summer, it's going to sell for less, but if you sell a winter jacket right in the middle of January, then it may sell for more. So we take into account of the seasonality, the trendiness, the bar before, dress last summer would have been really high as opposed to like maybe like right now. So we take into account different factors, and all that different factors get into account of our algorithms to make sure that your items get sold for the maximum amount.
Very cool. Kind of an offshoot here, but Kotryna, would love to hear more about how Arête factors in weather for styling, because while like a fur coat is generally worn in the winter, like maybe if you could style it in some way that it works for the spring, like would love to hear about that as well.
Yeah, so right now we are training our AI to understand weather and clothing, and we are training it to actually style outfits. And so we are kind of sticking to the basics right now of winter, spring, summer, fall. And so when you have a fur coat and it's styled with like a pair of really long pants and it has a sweater underneath, it's going to come up for winter. If you want it to come up for spring, you can select. There's a drop down in the styler where you can filter for different seasons. So if you're let's say you're in New York, you're getting ready for a trip that you have coming up in Mexico, and you're like, I need to see recommendations for beach, flirty summer. You can do that right now, right? So you have to just change the filter up there. But like you were saying, the way that clothing is styled will differ based on how it's styled. So if you have a blazer with a pair of shorts, for example, and a pair of sandals, it'll probably be for spring and summer. And so it'll make recommendations for you of that same blazer in multiple different types of outfit combinations based on the weather. So like if it's New York, right now it's pretty cold. If you set your location to New York, we're understanding that it's pretty cold outside, so your recommendations aren't necessarily going to be shorts. But if you switch that up and it starts to get warmer in the spring, you'll see the same blazer being recommended in a different outfit combination with maybe a pair of light jeans and a light t-shirt or something. So that same item can be worn in different combinations in different seasons, and we're training our model to understand how to style different pieces, of course, based on the weather.
Got it. It's really interesting to hear, when there's not like A or B answer, how AI is helping kind of streamline these processes. So very exciting. Also another question for you, Kotryna, and this is on behalf of any designers in the room. As a fashion designer myself, I often find it hard for growth and traction opportunities, and Arête specifically partners with emerging designers. Could you, speak to how you are building community with these emerging designers and partnering with them?
Yeah, so this was a personal frustration of mine because I like to say that I'm fashion curious. What that means for me is I don't have a lot of time to spend discovering brands in like Williamsburg, for example, but I still want to find them. Like, I don't want to wear the same thing that everyone else is wearing. So I want to find these amazing like creators, and not just Williamsburg, right? Like, if you look around the world, Denmark, Sweden, Paris, there's so many amazing designers out there, and I personally like work insane hours. I don't have the time to find them, and that was a consistent problem. So what we do is we actually do that discovery. So the recommendations that you receive are, again, the small and medium-sized designers, and because we have direct partnerships with them, we're actually allowing them to be almost like influencers on Arête. So the designers and the stylists are the ones who are really elevating. So they have their profile page, you can follow them. You can also read their story. So all of our brands are able to include a bio, links to purchase their items on their actual page, as well as getting connected with the people whose style preferences align with their clothing. So that's a really important piece for us, and we've noticed that a lot of these designers, and actually, show of hands, is anyone in the room a designer? Are there brands? Who's a designer? Yeah, so we've realized that actually getting the word out to your customers and finding them is really hard if you're a team of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 people. But we know that, hey, you have a very specific style, and we actually are able to understand the preferences of our users to a point where we can say, oh, actually, David would really like the clothes from Mind Blown. Mind Blown, I don't know if anyone's heard of them, great brand, New York based, but we are able to actually connect David with Mind Blown because their styles are connected. So this community that we're building, it's really multifaceted because we work with the stylists, we work with the brands, and then that community piece of everyone who's coming to the app is really important as well. So that's how we work with the designers and the brands.
Got it. On that topic of empowering creators, Lindsay would love to hear more how Rodeo puts fashion creatives across from designers, stylists, photographers at the forefront rather than influencers.
So back to what I had said earlier, just removing the pain points around creating that shoppable experience on Rodeo was like mission critical to unlocking the value that today is like preventing this massive consumer or commercial opportunity. So, today we have Vogue editors and photographers, painters, everywhere in between, musicians, and they have this super engaged community that admires them, can relate to them, looks up to them, and their inspiration goes beyond whatever that form of content that they're creating is. And people want to know what is the coffee table book sitting in front of them, or what are their kids wearing. And so it's been super exciting to see that Rodeo is unlocking that content that people just don't have the time. Like, if you look at the comments section on TikTok or Instagram for big photographers or busy people, probably anyone up here, people want to know, where can I buy this? That's what so many of the comments are, and those comments go unanswered, and there's so much power in unlocking that for brands as well. And so we're seeing the same thing where brands are priced out, they're not coming up on ads, or they're competing with the Ralph Laurens and the LL Beans of the world when it comes to social ad spend. So for that to be a productive way to reach the consumer is not going to happen. And so really being able to look at these patterns of, okay, people that like Ralph Lauren can also like this new emerging brand, and bringing that to the forefront, both through product placement with the content creators themselves or the photographers, whoever it is, or just being hyper curated in the recommendations that happen. So you'll see discovery fueled up, in every step of the journey on Rodeo. You're clicking on a product, it'll kind of tell you other products or other brands you may like. So that's been, exciting to see how we've been able to empower brands as well as unlocking these new verticals.
Love that. It's really exciting to hear how many synergies there seem to be between Arête and Rodeo, possible partnership. But moving on and switching gears a little bit, Selen, while Jori is focused on consumers uploading their personal closets, would love to hear more if you have plans for integration capabilities for retail partners and becoming a full-fledged inventory management system.
Sure, great question. So we want to be the one-stop shop for consumers listing or like trying to sell their items on multiple marketplaces. So right now, instead of like going to one marketplace, you can like listen at most marketplaces, whichever you have the accounts for, in a single click. So that said, under the hood, what we are doing really is like determining the reuse potential of items. So we have potential integrations with not just like resale marketplaces, but also retail partners or reverse logistics companies to be able to figure out whether your returns are actually sellable or not. Because sometimes you buy something, it will fit, and you have to return it, and now they have to figure out whether they can put it back into inventory or not. So that kind of real-time identification of what the physical good is and what the condition is something that we solve inherently, starting with the resale. And we have many other partnerships along the way to be able to really make that ecosystem as streamlined as possible. And we want to make it easier for the consumers, we want to make it easier for the businesses, and really what we want to do is that we want to reduce the waste in the ecosystem. So the more we can take stuff out of your closet, the more people who would otherwise buy firsthand could buy secondhand. And the more we can put all those returns back into the inventories, then we can reduce the waste that's coming from the returns, which is a lot of waste, believe it or not. And that's why we wanted to do Jori, really, to be able to facilitate the fashion circularity through AI.
Got it. And if anyone was here for previous panels on circular fashion, blockchain, or marketing, I think it's really interesting how many interlinked connections there are between these companies, because Jori is more AI focused, but in the end they are solving a problem in circular fashion. So this whole fashion ecosystem is just so interlinked, and I think that's really exciting that there's so many innovative technologies coming out. Switching gears a little bit, Virginia, would love to hear what Fital expects in terms of partnerships with retail partners, and is the goal more for reduced returns, increased conversions, or improved customer satisfaction all around?
D, all of the above. What you were just saying makes so much sense to me, and like what we're trying to build. Reducing returns is really why I got started. It's super frustrating to find something, it doesn't fit you very well, and then have to return it. That's our customer problem. But I didn't really understand how bad it was impacting retailers and the amount of waste that's going on. We slap a UPS label on our package and send it back, and we don't really think about what happens after that. But more than half of the time, it doesn't end back up on the rack. A lot of it, like you were saying earlier, there's a whole team that is now getting built out, dedicated to see whether or not that item can even go back to be sold. And most of the time the answer is no, because of the condition or the time frame for the return. I mean, as customers, we love a long return window. I like my 90 days, but a lot of times when that item gets back, it's out of season. So it ends up in the waste. So what we are really passionate about for retailers is kind of that triple bottom line of not only helping them with their sales and making sure that it stays with the customer, but also making sure that that it stays with the customer. But if you are the customer, you're getting it, and it's very efficient. I think additionally, we want customers to have a better experience. It is annoying, it's shamey, it feels awful when you think you're a size and you don't get the right size. So that's also thinking of that person in mind, their experience. And then finally, kind of building out that brand loyalty for brands and for consumers. I think that there are great brands out there that are built for our bodies, and they're not necessarily as well known or don't really have the market share. And so we want to kind of help cross-sell somebody saying, hey, these jeans might not fit you, but perhaps like Good American if it's a little curvier, or for a better bra, maybe check out Perper because they are for smaller breast size. So I think that that is an opportunity too to really enhance those relationships. So we kind of see like a three-pronged approach to like our value to both retailers and consumers.
So I know Fital is currently in beta. When are the plans to launch?
Yes, so exciting. So we did a closed beta, which was really amazing, and we listened to our consumers and are changing a few things, and hopefully launch end of February to everyone. So we're really excited about that. I think something that's been amazing about this entire panel and just being here today is seeing how many people are pre-launch or post-launch and really young in this, and it's just really awesome to see how all of us are kind of trying to tackle certain parts of this problem, and we're all at different stages doing so.
Right, because again, I think the whole fashion industry is very circular in the end, and everyone is working on little parts, as you said, of it, but in the end, coming together and solving this whole problem of how do we transform the industry. And on that note, wanted to open up this question to anyone. I guess what transformative changes do you see with AI impacting the fashion industry over the next decade? And I know this is vague, but feel free to bounce off.
I mean, I think all of our companies are in some ways incorporating AI and transforming the industry. I don't think it's one specific answer, right? Like whether it's, that search-based shopping approach and taking the data that we have on your preferences and giving you a very personalized shopping experience, whether it's the styling component, whether it's the fit, whether it's, auto-cleaning images and making sure that things are authenticated correctly. Like, it's really going to transform a lot of different components of this industry. It's not going to be isolated to one. So that's just my high-level answer.
I think that an interesting piece that we're really focused on is, we know that editorial has been this slow burning deterioration, and brands no longer have that super powerful way to reach their consumer. And Anna Wintour of the past is 1 million people of the future, and so I am super excited to see how there's been this collision of advancements in AI, whether it's computer vision or the ability to scale this AI personalization for the end user, and that replacing and quite honestly being a more powerful way to reach the shopper at the end of the day. So replacing potentially the need for this huge investment into social ad spend and paid placements in the Vogues, and instead reaching the consumer at the time they're wanting to buy something, serving them with the right size and potentially resale and all of the pieces of the outfit that they want to buy, and creating this new full price channel that is more economical for the brands and unlocks a lot of value for the creators that are contributing to the experience.
Yeah, I think I could touch on both of what you guys said, but what I'm really excited about, and I think Jori is also really working deeply on this, is the accurate tagging of data, with computer vision. I just think it's going to unlock so many other brands, so much categorization that is super convoluted and not standardized in the industry, which makes resale really hard. It makes processing data really hard. And so I think with the not the advent, but the continued explosion of AI, that is going to just skyrocket us into another, I don't want to say stratosphere, but arena when it comes in terms of discovering and reselling and processing data.
Yeah, so on that note on how AI can transform fashion, and the way I see the fashion is a form of, creativity. It's like another, channel of expression. And that's not going to change. And I'm sure AI will reshape how we shop or discover or list the items for secondhand. But what it can really transform is that if you look at the next decade is how we manufacture and dispose of clothing. That's something that we haven't touched in this panel because it's not about this panel, but like if you were to like think about what's currently happening is that like a lot of our clothes are made out of polyester, it gets it's made out of crude oil, we ship crude oil elsewhere, it gets manufactured elsewhere, gets here, you wear it, and then it ends up getting sorted and recycled, most likely landfilled elsewhere as well. But if you think about AI with robotics and automation, I think about the future where things happen locally, manufactured locally, and then perhaps get recycled. So it becomes a true form of closed loop as opposed to what we're having right now. But it's tangential.
No, definitely second what everyone has been saying. Selen, I would also love to hear a little bit more about how your background in machine learning and AI kind of led you to fashion, because I think previously you weren't working within fashion, and how that came about.
Yeah, so I was in AI and machine learning before doing this, and what I want to do is that I want to do something impactful. I want to make sure that we're leading a world that's, that our kids can thrive in. And that's why I want to get into this particular problem where AI can solve some of the challenges in the circular economy, which touches upon resale and recycling. And that's really it. Like, how can we, because it's not like we want to spend more money on clothing. It's not like we want to shop less. I mean, there's those things are not going to change. And if I could spend less money, why wouldn't I? But at the end of the day, we want to make sure that it's like what we are buying doesn't have a lot of environmental impact, and that could, and the only way to like minimize that impact is through technology, and that's something I believe in, and that's what I want to do, Jori.
Got it. And with that, we're going to open up the floor for audience questions. So feel free to stand up, say your name and who your question is addressed to. Alex will be coming around and passing the mic. I think right over.
Hello. So hi, I am a sewing pattern designer. In the past few years, there has been like a huge increase of number of people who wants to become their own personal designer at home. So I create the product and they do it at home. They buy the fabric, and there's a lot of other companies that just started like probably 2-3 years ago, and they all have different size. And I was thinking about you, what you're doing for a retailer. Could it apply to a sewing designer, because they all have so different like size chart? Everybody is like confused. Even like Berda Fashion, which is a huge company, people buy one size, and then after that they're like, oh, I have to rework it again. Sometimes they have to put it in the trash. Definitely makes like a lot of waste of fabric. So would you consider going into this? I don't know.
Is this on? Okay, yes, that is a great use case and something that we've thought about. Actually, I've talked with a lot of technical designers in the space around this, and it is really confusing when you're trying to build your clothes and not knowing who you're designing for in North America, because the size charts are all so convoluted. So I think that is absolutely a place we can go into. What that opens me up to in terms of how we would work with technical designers is that user data, because we are getting that from users, and I want to be very mindful about sharing that. But I think when it comes to smaller brands that might not have access to large amounts of data, that could be an amazing synergy between our company and a smaller designer.
Thank you so much for bringing that up, because all of our panelists here are focused on consumer-facing products, and I think from the design process itself, there is so much that can be done there, which is often overlooked. But yeah. Moving on, does anyone have a question? Over the middle.
I think my question is going to be for Rodeo. As a creator-based platform, one of my favorite things to do as a lawyer and shopping addict is to go online, find different styles. But one of the key issues facing AI is copyright and copyright infringement. And as as people use your platform and they look on the different styles, I've often seen amazing styles for $500 and then 2 swipes later for $50. How would you go about, protecting designers and what they produce?
So it's a great question, and it's a problem that we are absolutely going to face. And as we continue to bring in brands, so we are directly affiliated with about 100 brands and retailers, and that will grow tenfold in the next year. Those brands will begin taking priority over the product identification that's happening, and that will help us really create our own models around the computer vision and kind of starting to recommend having a hierarchy and dynamic searching that will help with that. And I think it's critical in the fashion industry for us to be supporting the origination of this creation wherever it's coming from. So it's not a problem I've solved yet, but I definitely believe in making that a priority.
Thank you for that, Lindsay. We have time for just one last question, so if anyone wants to go, okay, hold on, Alex, or actually you can just take this mic.
My question will be about not consumer maybe facing problems, but about tech. I know that there is some problems with the models, AI models that we can use in fashion, especially when it comes to analyzing body shapes, body types. So my question is that do you invest in your R&D and developing your own models, or would you prefer to rely on open source models and just train them on your data and wait when they will be improved?
I'm assuming that's for me. That is such a phenomenal question, and I feel like you might be referring to Levi's using AI models that are not actual people. We are completely 100% using regular people. We are trying to solve this problem for people, and so that's super important for us. What we're trying to do is using a lot of our data, human data, is to auto-generate your measurements for you, just in case you don't have a tape measure at home. A lot of people do measure wrong. If I say bust, are you doing your under bust or your typical bust? Your waist, your hips, do you actually know where that is? And so we're trying to take that guesswork out of it, but we're using 100% human data because I think that is the best data when you're trying to figure out body types right now.
Also on that note, Selen, I think we didn't touch on how sizing might be taken into account in the closet uploading process, so would love to hear you touch on how AI is trained on sizing. Seems like there's a lot of correlation with what Virginia was discussing there too.
Yeah, so sizing is, you hear me? Okay. Sizing is a problem of its own, so it's really hard, but it's a little problem for sure. What we do with the real-time closet uploading is that we want to get rid of the whole process of taking pictures one by one, so you can just take a video of your items, just flip through them, and the AI can take care of the rest. And in that case, it's once the user puts in a profile of themselves, this is what my size, these are clothes that fit me, then that should give a way for the other person that's buying the clothes from them. So we're not doing the marketplace, but we can definitely shape the marketplace so that the matching process is a little bit more facilitated, is a little bit more streamlined.
Thank you, Selen. And with that, we're going to close out our AI and Style panel. Can we give a big round of applause for the panelists? And we will be starting our next panel on innovation for fashion brands. I have no idea what time it is right now, but I believe at 6. So feel free to stick around. We have some drinks.